Dear students, welcome to MNR's digital classes. The topic of this lecture is space physics. This is the first part in space physics. In this particular session, we are going to understand what is solar atmosphere, the different layers of solar atmosphere, and also we are going to learn the physical characteristics of the different layers. The content of this lecture is extracted from the textbook An Introduction to Astrophysics by Baidyanath Basu. First, let us have a look at the Sun. The Sun is a normal star having a middle age about 4.5 giga years, that is 4.5 billion years. It is a main sequence star. It is a G2 type spectral class star. We know that Sun is the nearest star to the Earth. By virtue of its nearness, it offers scope for detailed and most accurate observations. The typical physical parameters of the Sun are as listed here. The radius of the Sun is 7 lakh kilometers, which is equal to 109 times the Earth's radius. The mass of the Sun is 2 into 10 to the power of 30 kg, which is equal to 3,33,000 times the mass of the Earth. The density, it varies. At the surface of the Sun, the density is 1,400 kg per meter cube, while if you go into the depth, the density extends up to 15,000 kg per meter cube. The matter inside the Sun is mostly in the form of gas, and the density increases greatly with depth. The surface temperature of the Sun is 5,780 Kelvin, while the core temperature extends up to 15 million Kelvin. The chemical composition. As we know, inside the core, the temperature is very high. At that such a high temperatures, most of the matter exists in the form of hydrogen, helium. So the composition is 71% of hydrogen, 27% of helium, and 2% of other air elements. Because of the thermonuclear fusion reactions, the Sun uses enormous amount of energy. The energy emitted per second is called as power. The power output of the Sun is 4 into 10 to the power of 26 watts. The structure of Sun. The figure depicts the structure of Sun. The everything below the Sun's optical surface, that is the surface of the Sun which is visible, is called as the optical surface. Everything below this optical surface of the Sun is called as the solar interior. The solar interior is divided into hydrogen burning core, the innermost part. The next layer is the radiative zone, and the next layer is convective zone. The directly observable part of the Sun is called as the solar atmosphere. This solar atmosphere is divided into photosphere, chromosphere, corona, and the outermost part of the solar atmosphere, which spreads into interstellar space, is called as heliosphere. In the figure, we can see the interior and exterior parts of the Sun. Interior part and the exterior part that is called as the solar atmosphere. Now let us have a brief look at the solar interior. Now observe the plot. Here we have along the x-axis the radius variation, along the y-axis density, and along the z-axis temperature variations. Inside the core, the core extends up to 0.3 times the radius of the sun, and the temperature changes from 15 million Kelvin to 8 million Kelvin. That is along the z-axis. In the radiative zone, the next layer, it extends from 0.3 times the radius of the sun to 0.7 times the radius of the sun, and its temperature falls from 8 million Kelvin to 2 million Kelvin. In the next layer, the convective zone, in which the conventional currents, the plasma is in the form of conventional currents. In this plasma, it ranges from its 0.7 to 0.99 times the solar radius, and the temperature falls from 2 million Kelvin to 6,000 Kelvin at the outer surface. The outer surface is called as for the base of the photosphere, where the temperature is 5780 Kelvin. The next one is the solar atmosphere. This is the essence of this entire lecture series. In its simplest form, it can be modeled as a single component plane parallel atmosphere. That is, the solar atmosphere is generally described as being composed of multiple layers of hot gases. In this plane component model, we divide the atmosphere into multiple layers of hot gases. These layers, however, not sharply defined. In fact, each one of these is separated by a transition zone of several kilometers thickness, and they greatly differ from each other in physical characteristics. We divide the atmosphere of the sun into different layers of hot gases, starting from the visible solar surface upwards, that is the optical disk of the sun. These layers are known as the first one, photosphere. This is the lowest layer of the solar atmosphere. It is followed by the chromosphere, and then the transition region, and the last one is the corona. This corona is merging into interplanetary space, that is the heliosphere. As we mentioned already, each layer of the solar atmosphere is different in its physical characteristics. Now let us discuss one of the physical parameters, that is the temperature. The temperature variations in various layers of the atmosphere is as shown in this figure. Now, starting from the base of the photosphere, that is the outer surface of the sun, where the temperature is about 5800 Kelvin. As we move from the base of the photosphere towards the chromosphere, the graph depicts that the temperature goes on, decreases, reaches a minimum of 4200 Kelvin. This is called as the transition region between photosphere and chromosphere. This lowest temperature or the minimum temperature region is called as the transition region between photosphere and chromosphere. As we move away from this, again the temperature gradually increases at a temperature of about 8000 Kelvin. We have a sudden quenching of the temperature and then a plateau region. And if we reach the transition region between the chromosphere and corona region, the temperature almost reaches to 1 million Kelvin. In the lower part of the corona, the temperature varies from 1 million to 2 million Kelvin. From this, it is clear that the solar atmosphere is not having the uniform distribution of temperature, but that there is a random distribution of temperature in different layers of the solar atmosphere. Now, this figure indicates the temperature of various parts of the sun. Inside the core, temperature is around 15 to 16 million Kelvin. Chromosphere having the temperature of approximate temperature of 10,000 Kelvin. Photosphere have approximate temperature of 6,000 Kelvin. Corona 1 million Kelvin. And prominences 10,000 Kelvin. Solar flares are the parts where the temperature is still very high. It ranges up to 20 million Kelvin. The atmosphere of the sun is not still, but it is a source of many interesting phenomena and observable effects. This figure shows the different physical phenomena that takes place in the solar atmosphere. Let us list out one by one. In the photospheric layer, we observe the phenomena such as solar granulations or simply granules, sunspots, and faculae. In the chromospheric layer, we observe spicules and plagues. In the next layer, that is in the corona part, we can see the great prominences, solar flares, and streamers. And in the outermost atmosphere of the sun, there is a solar wind and sporadic radio bursts from the outer atmosphere of the sun. And the last one, the most mysterious 11-year cycle of the solar activity. These are some of the important phenomena that occurs in the solar atmosphere in various layers. Now, in this figure, we can see the different mechanisms. We have a colorful picture representing the different mechanisms. This figure represents the sunspots, then coronal holes, solar flares, prominences, etc. We are not going to discuss in detail about these mechanisms. Detailed discussion of these mechanisms are beyond the scope of this lecture. Our view is obstructed beyond the layer by rapidly increasing opacity and the density layers of the gas inwards. If we move from the visible optical surface of the sun to the interior, as we move inside, the opacity of the denser layers goes on, increases, which obstructs the visibility of the observer. So the photosphere can be defined as it is the innermost layer of the solar atmosphere to which our eyes can penetrate through the superficial transparent layers. This visible or the optical disk of the sun, which we recognize as the solar surface, may be considered as the base of the photosphere. The visible part of the sun is called as the photosphere, and we can define the photosphere as the innermost layer to the extent to which our eye can penetrate through the superficial layers. So the photosphere is the shallow shell of gas which extends between the solar surface and the temperature minimum from which the most of the solar radiation arises. So we can define the photosphere as a layer or the shell of gas which extends from the solar surface, that is the base of the photosphere, to the temperature minimum region, that is the transition between photosphere and chromosphere. This is the part where the most solar radiation arises. The thickness of the entire photospheric layer which runs from completely transparent to perfectly opaque layers of the gas, is quite small. The thickness of the photosphere is about 200 to 300 kilometers. But the thickness of the photosphere is not uniform at all the parts. If you make the observation near the center of the sun, then the thickness appears to be small and it appears to be hot and bright. But if we observe near the limb of the sun, that is at the edges of the sun, our eye can penetrate through the cooler superficial layers to more deeper. So the thickness will be more at the limbs and it becomes cooler. This effect is known as limb darkening effect. The central part of the sun's disk appears to be brighter and hotter, while the edges appears to be cooler and deeper. This effect is called as limb darkening effect, and this limb darkening effect clearly explains why the temperature of the photosphere decreases with depth towards the photochromosphere. As we just now discussed, because of the limb darkening effect, as we move from the base of the photosphere towards the chromosphere, the temperature decreases from around 6000 Kelvin to 4200 Kelvin. So we can say that the temperature range of the photosphere it varies from 4000 Kelvin to 6000 Kelvin approximately. The assumption of local thermodynamical equilibrium holds good for the photosphere, and the energy transport in the photosphere is mainly due to convection and radiation. This figure shows the temperature variation of the photosphere and chromosphere. Now regarding the spectra. The spectra or the radiation coming from the photosphere have the wavelength in the ranges of visible part. Ultraviolet radiations having wavelengths greater than 1600 angstroms, and IR radiations having wavelengths less than 100 micrometers. The continuous absorption spectrum of the sun is produced by hydrogen ions that originates entirely in the photosphere. The continuous absorption spectrum what we get from the sun is produced by hydrogen ions which originates entirely in the photosphere. It is now believed that most of the Fraunhofer lines are also originates in this photosphere only. Previously, it was believed that these lines are originated from the lower part of the chromosphere, which has therefore been given the name the reversing layer, which means most of the reversed lines, that is absorption lines of the solar spectrum, originate in this layer. So I will repeat again. Earlier, it was believed that the Fraunhofer lines in the solar spectrum are originated from the lower part of the chromosphere, but now it is believed that most of the Fraunhofer lines are originate from the photosphere only. The current observations, however, indicate that most of the solar absorption lines, that is, the weaker lines are originated from the lower atmosphere, while the stronger lines are originated from the upper atmosphere of the upper atmosphere, that is the upper part of the photosphere. Only some of the strongest lines, such as Balmer lines of hydrogen and H and K lines of calcium 2, have their origin primarily from the lower atmosphere of the sun. The pressure and density in the photosphere are of the order of 10 to the power of -2 to 10 to the power of -4 of the respective terrestrial values at the sea level. We know that the terrestrial value of the pressure, that is at the sea level pressure, is 1 atmosphere. The pressure of the photosphere is 10 to the power of -2 atmospheres, while the density is 10 to the power of -4 times that of the sea level. The sea level value is 2.7 into 10 to the power of 13 molecules per meter cube. This photosphere is the densest part of the solar atmosphere. The main mechanisms are the structures we observe in the photosphere includes formation of solar granulations, formation of sunspots, and formation of faculae. Now, observe the figure. If you see the figure, this represents the photosphere of the solar atmosphere. The photosphere is marked by the bright bubbling grain-like structures of plasma. These structures are known as solar granules or simply granulations. Now, in this figure, we also observe that there are some cooler, darker spots which are called as sunspots, which emerge when the sun's strong magnetic field breaks through the surface. Here, observe that the darkest part of the sunspot is called as umbra region. Little brighter spots are called as penumbra region, and we have the granules surrounding these sunspots. In addition to this, there are few areas which are bright surrounded by the sunspots, and these bright areas occupying at one time a substantial fraction of the solar disk are known as faculae. We see a small some regions of bright spots which are called as faculae. In addition to these three phenomena, the photosphere is also the source of solar flares. Solar flares are the tanks of fire that extend hundreds or thousands of miles above the sun's surface. You observe this figure. We have the tanks of fire which are extending from the solar atmosphere. These are called as solar flares. The next layer is the chromosphere. The chromosphere is the second major layer of the solar atmosphere, and it is situated above the photosphere. The nomenclature is derived from its display of reddish color when the photosphere is eclipsed by the moon. During the solar eclipse, the chromosphere appears to be reddish in color. Because of this appearance, this layer of the solar atmosphere is called as chromosphere. We know that chromo means color. It is a layer of fairly inhomogeneous gas, a few thousand kilometers, that is 2000 to 3000 kilometers in thickness, with the gas density gradually thinning out, but the temperature rising rapidly upwards from 4400 Kelvin to 25,000 Kelvin at the top. In the earlier slides, we already discussed how the temperature varies in the photosphere, chromosphere, and corona region. In the photosphere, the temperature sharply increases from 4400 Kelvin to 25,000 Kelvin at the top. And the composition is not homogeneous. It is fairly inhomogeneous gas. There is a strong evidence for the spatially and temporally inhomogeneous chromosphere. We can see the layers, the successive layers of the chromosphere having a wide variation in temperature. We see a gas layer having temperature less than 4000 Kelvin present beside another layer having temperature more than 8000 Kelvin. This inhomogeneous distribution of temperature is the important characteristic of the chromosphere. And we see another layer where the temperature is plateau around 7000 Kelvin. Now observe here, inside the chromosphere, as just now we discussed, the chromosphere is inhomogeneous, it has inhomogeneous distribution of temperature. Now observe, we have a layer here having temperature 4000 Kelvin, and beside this we have another layer having temperature greater than 8000 Kelvin. And one more thing is, we have a plateau region, almost the temperature is constant with the distant height, and this region is the plateau region. It appears around a temperature of 7000 Kelvin. This inhomogeneous distribution of temperature is the important characteristic of the chromospheric layer. It is transparent to visible light, so we cannot see the chromosphere against the brightness of the photosphere. However, it can be seen or observed only during the total solar eclipse as a reddish pink strip around the moon. Because of the strong Balmer H-alpha line emission, the wavelength of this Balmer line is 6563 angstroms. So, since the temperature, when the brightness against the photosphere, the chromosphere cannot be seen during the normal days. However, it can be seen only during the total solar eclipse in the form of a reddish pink strip. Because of this appearance, the name of this layer is given as chromosphere. It appears to be reddish because of the strong Balmer H-alpha line present in the chromosphere. This is a layer where the assumption of local thermodynamic equilibrium breaks down. As a result of this breakdown of local thermodynamic equilibrium, we see the inhomogeneous distribution of temperature. And the assumption of plane parallel atmosphere is also likely to break down as well. The two important assumptions breaks down in the chromospheric part. In this layer, the energy transport is mainly by radiation and heat waves, that is infrared radiations. This layer is dominated by the spectrum of emission and absorption lines. The lower layers of the chromosphere, about 500 kilometers in thickness, is simply the extension of the photosphere, where the strongest absorption lines, in particular the Balmer series of hydrogen and H and K lines of calcium-2 are formed, just similar to that of the photosphere. It is the extension of photosphere. In the increasing temperature along the height is clearly reflected in the spectra produced at different levels of the chromosphere. As we discussed already, the temperature varies inhomogeneously. This inhomogeneous variation of temperature is clearly reflected in the spectrum produced in the chromosphere. At the lowest level of the chromosphere, that is at the base of the chromosphere, the spectrum shows the lines of various neutral metals such as iron 1, sodium 1, etc., which are the characteristic of low excitation. Higher above, the lines of ionized metals such as iron 3, calcium 2, strontium 2, titanium 2 constitute the chief spectral features. The Balmer lines of hydrogen and helium 1 lines are very prominent in the spectra of still higher layers. At a height of about 10,000 kilometers, still higher layers of the chromosphere are characterized by strong helium-2 line at a wavelength of 4686 angstroms. Because of decrease in density with increasing height, all the chromospheric lines fade away gradually with height. But the effect of temperature rises with height is not uniform for all the elements. So the conclusion is, at the lower levels of the solar chromosphere, we see the extension of photospheric lines, the absorption lines observed in the photospheres, that is the Balmer series of hydrogen, H and K lines of calcium. With the higher layers, we see the neutral metals of iron and sodium lines. If we go to still higher levels, we see the ionized metals, the spectral lines due to ionized metals of iron, calcium, strontium, titanium, etc. And at a very high levels, that is at a height of about 10,000 kilometers, we see the strong helium-2 lines at a wavelength of 4686 angstroms. This is about the spectrum observed in the chromosphere. The chromosphere exhibits a very wide variety of structures. That is, we can see the sunspots, plaques, network and internetworks, that is grain formations, spicules, prominences and filaments. Even we see the solar flares and eruptions. We know already seen that there is a transition region between the chromosphere and the lower part of the corona. This region is called as the transition region. The transition between the chromosphere and the corona takes place at about a radial distance of 1.03 times the solar radius. In this transition region, the temperature increases gradually to a very high values in the upper layers of the chromosphere. Above the chromosphere, at a height of about 20,000 kilometers, there is a thin transition region having thickness of about 200 kilometers, where the chromosphere merges into the corona. Here, the temperature rises rapidly from 20,000 Kelvin to the upper chromosphere to coronal temperatures closer to 1 million Kelvin. We have a transition layer having thickness about 200 kilometers. In this transition layer, the temperature gradually increases from 20,000 Kelvin to 1 million Kelvin. The next layer of the solar atmosphere is the corona. This is the third and outermost layer of the solar atmosphere. It is the natural and smooth extension of the chromosphere, but yet it differs greatly from the latter in its physical state. The corona is not as bright as the photosphere, hence it can only be seen when the photosphere is blocked out in some way, that is during total solar eclipse or by using the coronagraph. The older methods to see the corona is only during the total solar eclipse, but with the advancement of the technology, we have the artificial methods to see the corona. That instrument is called as coronagraph. With the advent of this new instrument, coronagraph, it is now possible to observe and analyze the inner corona without a solar eclipse, whereas the outer corona can still be observed only at the time of total solar eclipse only. The inner corona can be seen by using a coronagraph, while the outer corona can be seen only during the total solar eclipse. The duration for which the corona can be observed at an eclipse ranges only for a fraction of seconds to few minutes. The actual time depends on the extent of the eclipse, and the position of the observer. Now let us understand what is corona. Corona is the rim of the sun and is seen very clearly during the total solar eclipse. Just we discussed already. As an effulgent halo embracing solar limb by the inner end, while the outer end stretches far beyond the solar disk and gradually merging into interstellar space. It appears as a halo embracing solar limb and extends to. Now we can see this figure. This clearly indicates the formation of corona during total solar eclipse. The inner corona, which is also called as the real corona, it extends from 1.03 times the solar radius to 2.5 times the solar radius. This part of the corona is known as K corona and imitates the continuous spectrum of the photosphere. Therefore, its name is given as K, where K is continuum, derived from the German word. Now observe here, this is the corona part of the sun. The outer corona lies at a distance r greater than 2.5 times the solar radius, and it displays the solar spectrum with Fraunhofer lines superimposed on the continuum. This is sometimes also called as the false part of the corona, and the prefix are F corona, false corona or F corona. The prefix stands for F stands for Fraunhofer. The spectrum of F corona is produced by sun's light that is scattered by tiny dust particles of the interplanetary space. F corona together with K corona constitutes what is called as the white corona, which merges into interplanetary space with decreasing brightness. The corona shines very brightly in the X-ray part of the spectrum, despite of being blocked by the photosphere in the visible region. This is because of very high temperatures of the corona, which extends up to 2 million Kelvin. This shining part, the X-ray part of the spectrum, is called as the emission corona or E corona. It extends from the top of the chromosphere out to a distance of several million kilometers, where it becomes the solar wind as the gases cool down. It appears as the white streamers or plumes of ionized gas that flow outwards into space. We are going to discuss what is solar corona in the next lecture. The major observable effects include coronal holes, the solar wind, great prominences, solar flares, and streamers. Thank you.